There we go. So share screen right now. So those who don't know me, my name is Jason Stubblefield. We started buying apartments. So I started buying apartments back in 2016. We were able to scale that portfolio to a little over 1,000 units. Realapartments.com. That's what you're looking at right now. This is our website. We are now focusing in the affordable housing space. So we got some interesting projects that we're always looking at, always making offers out. But if you want to know more about me, sort of our company, what we're doing, rilapartments.com is where you can do that. Also, if you're interested in investing, right, you want to invest passively. If you click on the Invest Now tab, that brings you to a form. You fill out that form, sort of puts you in our world, and you're able to hear about the deals that we do. If you are not registered there, then we sort of don't know that you're interested. We haven't had a conversation, and sometimes we're not able to share the deals that we do with you. So that's how you can get in contact with us, sort of learn more. But before today, my man Ryan Butler is coming in, and so I want to give him the platform, give him as much time as possible, and let you all ask your questions. But Ryan coming in from the DC area has really just accelerated. Just a good all around guy, and I've enjoyed seeing his progression. Every time I turn around, he's got another deal going on, and I saw that last week. I was like, man, come on, you got to come share with the people what you're doing and how you're making all this stuff happen. So. With that being said, man, I just want to turn over the platform to Ryan, and yeah, man, just go ahead and give us all a brief introduction into you and your background.
Sure, man. Thanks for having me on here, Jason's. You making me blush over here, you know.
Come
So, so Ryan Butler, based out of Washington D.C. I am by trade a realtor. I help people buy and sell homes, and I have one of the top real estate sales teams in the country, where we transact over $200 million a year. But we knew that for both ourselves, for myself, and for my clients, we needed a way to continue to build wealth. And most people only want to buy so many homes for themselves. And so what we found is that if we could put together a scenario where our people could invest, our family, our friends, our clients, just people in our world could invest, and we could help them with that, it just worked out really well, because in multifamily real estate, scale is an accelerant. So you can use scale to really generate profits for people who are investing with you along with yourself. And so what that brought along is that I've purchased in the last, basically since 2021, I've had 6 purchases, multifamily purchases, and they've ranged in sizes from really small deals, so like 3 units, to a big deal for me, maybe not a big deal for some of you guys, but 100 units with Jason over here at Douglasville. And so with that, I've basically acquired the door count, a little bit over 200 doors, about 215 thereabouts, 218. So that's kind of my background. I have a software engineering background, so I actually come from, even before real estate, I was in the tech world, which also I think me and Jason got some synergy on there as well. We just kind of understood that world, had a little bit of an engineering mind around this, which can be helpful depending on what role you play. And yeah, I'm here for questions. The markets I play in are basically East Coast coastal markets. From the southeast coastal market on around that south. So you just come on down from Maryland on down south and around that bend over to Texas. Those are the markets that I'm open to working with.
Good deal, man. So yeah, I'm assuming you don't have any slides, and we're just gonna chop it up.
So I have my syndication pro, can go through some of the deals that are on there if you wanted to look through those deals. So I know you want.
It's all on you, man. Like if you want to share it, you can. Question, like one of the questions I have, I think a lot of the people that are listening here may just sort of wonder, like, how do you even get started in this, right? How did you go from being a realtor, software developer into, now owning over 200 units?
Yeah, so I basically was a terrible landlord. That's how it all started. I was a really bad landlord, and I was like, man, I got to do something different in this. This can't be the only way. And so I looked up and said, I think that if I can find a way to use my skills and my talents that then require me to work on the day-to-day aspect of landlording, I wanted to be in that business because I just sucked at that, to be frank. Like, and I knew it. And then I got taken advantage of a couple of times. I was like, man, this is enough. I need to do something where I can partner with someone that's good at that part. So I can do what I do, which is help find deals, help high level, manage the people, as well as, dealing with the capital investors. So I was like, man, I can do that really well. I'm much better at that. Who can I bring into my world that can help also find deals, do some of the underwriting, do some of the business planning, as well as, manage the property managers. So that's kind of how, and Jason and I locked up on that a lot.
Okay, so it seems like you had a solid foundation. You thought that you had investors in your world, and then you were like, well, how can I? You didn't want to be a landlord, right? Because that wasn't your forte, right? And so with that, you were like, what's that?
Not my gift, not my gift, not my lane, not my gift. You know how I am. I like to stay in my lane.
Gotcha. Okay, so then you looking around, you say, I have a successful business. I'm thinking for you, but I'm trying to correct me if I'm wrong here. You're in the Washington, D.C. area. You're selling a lot of real estate. You know a lot of people who have capital and could potentially want to invest. So you chose to take the route of saying, what I have around me is people with capital. How can I find partners to sort of put this capital to work? Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's my story. I was able to leverage my business that I had already. And I went to the conferences and I kind of saw what everybody was talking about. And I looked and I said, man, I don't know if all of this is I might have to take a different route, to be honest. I might have to take a different route than what people traditionally think about it, just because I already had a bunch of relationships that trusted me, that knew me, that liked me and trusted me from a real estate standpoint. And they would be willing to, they'd rather give their money to me and let me work some magic with it. So that's kind of the situation. And yeah, that's basically what it is. Like, what I found is that most people are fine buying 1 to 3 homes. And after that, they're like, man, this landlord stuff don't look fun to me. So after 3 homes, there's some people that keep going, but after 3 homes, most people, they still want to be invested in real estate, but they don't want to deal with all of the management piece of that. So how can they get into that, make reasonable, good returns, and not have to deal with management of real estate? And that's where communication comes into play.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like, most people, they either live in a deal market or they live in a money market. And so just add a little color around that. Like, a deal market is maybe Alabama or North Carolina, where there's just hot deals, relatively low cost per door, and a lot of people who want to invest there. DC is what I would call probably a money market, right? It's one of the most expensive places in the country, outside of like maybe New York or San Francisco. But there's a lot of people who just can't, they can't find quality investments within the city. So you recognize that, chose to take that as your lane and basically use it as a resource in order to get into multifamily. Talk to us a little bit about that first deal and how you decided to come in, because I think the first one is usually the scariest.
Yeah. Well, I think to get started, I focused a lot on, so I kind of understand what it takes to learn something, if that makes sense. So I was like, I need to learn these different things. So I'm going to spend X amount of time learning this skill, and this skill. I'm going to ignore all the rest of the noise. And so, and along with that, you need to meet people who are doing what you want to do or doing something that will complement what you're doing. So in finding the first deal, I spent a lot of time going through underwriting just deals that I saw. I spent a lot of time getting on all of the email lists of commercial brokerages that I could in the areas that I wanted to be in. So I went through just finding the realtors, hit them up. I mean, I'm a realtor myself, right? So I kind of understand what it takes to start building relationships with those type of people. And if you want a deal, you're going to have to get it from a realtor, whether it's cold through an email or find it on NetLoop, or anything like that. Like, you're still going to have to find a deal. So I was like, all right, I can find deals and I could raise money. I knew I was going to be good at that. So I tried to find people who were complementary to me. And so basically, it's the origin story for me and Jason, right? I'm up there knocking on doors of friends. Hey, who do you know that I should talk to? And just setting up little coffee Zoom meetings. Actually, this was right in the middle of COVID. so you're setting up meetings. Who do you know should I talk to? So I got them a lot of Zoom meetings, and one of the really first early ones was with Jason, a mutual friend of ours introduced us, and we hopped on the Zoom, and he saw this new young guy trying to get in the game, and he was like, most people in that situation, bring me a deal, bring me something of value that can add to what I'm doing, and then let's see how we can partner together. And I was just on these listservs underwriting deals. And then I found one. And I was like, I like this deal. This number looks good, high level. And I sent it to Jason after I did my underwriting. And, it took him a little while to get back to me because he's like, this guy don't know what he's doing. But we actually looked at it, he's like, you know what? This actually is a pretty good deal. So we found a couple good deals. We found a deal like that. And then it just happened to work out. We did the underwriting. We got it under contract. We got it under letter of intent. Went through our due diligence, got it under contract, and closed on the deal. And that was the first time that I went through a syndication with a raise. Now, that was 68 units. That was in Georgia. That was in Augusta, Georgia, where we have that property. And we bought that in 2021.
Nice. Okay, so a little bit about, you said that you felt like you have the ability to raise money, but at this point you hadn't done it yet, right? Because I guess it's all theory, right? Until you actually put it to practice. So talk a little bit about your method when it comes to raising capital, and how are you doing this to bring money to deals?
Yeah. So because people are doing single transactions with me, I'm very familiar with a lot of their financial situations. So I kind of knew who has what they're doing. And I knew their appetite for capacity. In addition to that, from a higher level standpoint, a lot of people in my network, middle class, and so they have access to capital that they historically had not had access to. And then in addition to that, they didn't have access to deals. They had access to, stock market. They had access to individual real estate. But when it came to alternative investments, that was new for them as well. So my audience wasn't really introduced to alternative investments like that. And real estate syndication is one of those alternative investments, basically private equity at that point. And so that was new and exciting for them. And even before I started, I basically just went through my Rolodex and met with people to see if they had appetite to invest in deals. And I kept people on a list, and I just kept building this email list of people who would have access to deals that I was getting. And that first one is harder, though. Of course, I didn't raise as much money as I thought I was going to be able to raise for that one. But it wasn't a small amount. I want to say it wasn't like a crazy small amount. Let's say it's like 600,000 or something like that, right around there for my first deal, which Jason told me that was good. I didn't know. I'm new to the game, so I'm just trying to get as much as possible into the bucket that we need to raise the total capital.
Gotcha. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a good amount, right? First deal, you're tapping into a market. I think a lot of people, when it comes to raising capital, they have a lot of trepidation around that. To actually be able to do it successfully, right? First go around is pretty significant.
I think it helped that people I knew, right? Versus trying to build a cold email list. And so your conversion rate is going to be lower. All these people you don't know that you're funneling into your email list, and they don't know who you are. So you'll have any deals going, they're going to be more hesitant to give you money. But these are people that I've known for years, and I've already done right by them. So they knew me. They had a good relationship of success with me previously. And so they thought that some of them thought that it could transfer over to this as well.
Now, I think that's a great point that you mentioned, because a lot of times people, as much as it's about real estate, it's about the multifamily, it's about a market. At the end of the day, the people are really investing in you. They have to have that know, like, and trust. And so they trusted you with that. So is your method when it comes to raising capital then, well, I guess, what is your method? Some people do blast email, some people do phone call. Like, what do you do when you're looking to break capital to a deal?
I feel like you got to do all of that. It really depends on how much you need to raise and how much you feel is in your database. But I mean, I've reached out to people individually who I know. It's like, hey, did you see this deal? This is what we got going on. I know you got some money. These are people I know. So we're a little bit closer. I'm like, hey, man, I know you got some money, man. Come on, put some money in this deal. You want to make some more, right? So we just have a friendlier relationship. I wouldn't do that to people I wouldn't know, of course, but the people I do know, they are ready to invest, and they're usually pretty young, high income people, and they're aggressive about their wealth building. So they want deals. They're hungry for deals.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So you're not just sending an email and then waiting on the money to come in.
Definitely not. No, I'm an old school guy. People always ask me, it's like, what do you do? I was like, I pick up the phone and call people. I go through my phone and said, I think this guy's got some money. I think this guy's got some money. I think this gal's got some money. And then I call them. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah. I still remember that call that we had where he was Ryan was flexing a little bit. Maybe he was intentional, maybe not intentional. He's like, no, I think I can get somebody. He makes a phone call to a guy. He's like, hey man, I got this deal. How much you think you're in for? The guy's like, maybe 300,000 or so. And he does it sort of nonchalant, like live while we're on the while we're all having a group call here, sporadic. And I'm like, okay, you do have a Rolodex of people.
Yeah.
So I want to respect your time. But we got some questions, right? So let's do a little Q&A here. So let's see. Mike asks, like, what would you recommend to someone who has a lot of equity in a few single family rentals, who now wants to pivot into acquiring multifamily properties, selling the single family homes 1031 into multifamily? What's your thoughts about that, Ryan? I am offline. That's not good.
Single family ones. So I sold them. But if you're good at that stuff, I would not sell it, because you can leverage those assets over and over again. So again, every situation is a little bit different, but you got to decide what your investment thesis is. I only have one single family property in my name, and it's not even in my name no more. I just put it in a trust. So I literally don't have any single family properties that's in my physical name, and I only have one that I own. Everything else is multifamily. So on that note of already having a relationship with folks, speak to how someone brand new in real estate starting out, what are the best ways to cold connect and try to build relationships if their current circle doesn't have that? I think you're either going to have, to me, there's two ways you do it. You either go old school or you're going to do new school. New school, I think people understand. You're basically building funnels, and you're putting people in your funnel. You're getting people into your email list, and then you're connecting with, you're building trust relationship through communications of value. And that value doesn't have to be a deal every time, but that value will eventually need to be a deal, or you're going to lose them. And yeah, you put people in. It's like a system. No matter what business you're in, the sales is the same. Your whole goal is to build a database so big and communicate with that database with enough frequency and enough value that at the point in time where a transaction needs to happen, they're willing to come to you. That's how that works. And then on the other side, you need to go shake hands and kiss babies. So you need to get out there. You need to be chest to chest, as they say in the sales world, belly to belly. They say that in the sales world, which is mean you need to meet people one-on-one and build those relationships. But then also you're still going to have to put them into your database to make sure you can communicate with them after you've started that initial relationship building. I can't hear you right now, Jason.
We're back. Yeah, welcome back to my my old Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
I got disconnected, but yeah, hearing what you're saying, man, like good old fashioned sales and marketing. Can't say enough about that. I think so. Mike had another question that was about the tools and websites that you use to analyze areas.
Mm-hmm. So the tools and website I use to analyze areas, I've tried a bunch of them. I mean, CoStar to find deals, again, I think just going on LootNet or just Googling and go see who the commercial brokers are in the area and getting on their email list just to even get the deals. Right, that's the first thing. I guess, what do you mean by analyze the areas? Meaning like areas that I'm choosing, or like analyzing deals once I'm into a location?
Yeah, I'm assuming that's like a market question, but if you want to clarify that, Mike, feel free to drop it in the chat.
So I'm clear on my investment thesis, unless my current one. My investment thesis can change, but I like deals that I'm paying under $150,000 a door. I like workforce housing, workforce development, affordable housing spaces. So I'm really clear on the types of homes that I like. So those homes typically translate to somewhere around, $100,000 or less per unit, thereabouts. So I have to go to markets that support that. I'm okay with, I don't like Class D. I don't think no one's like, man, I can't wait to buy Class D properties. I don't buy Class A because that is a money game, in my opinion. That's really just about how much money you can raise and how long you can keep the property. And then, so most of my properties are going to be in that lower B, high C area. And the price ranges, most of my properties, you won't see the rents more than $1,400.
Gotcha. Good. Yeah. So, other question here from Carlos: do you have any recommendations for systems that you created? That just changed on me as I was reading it. Let me go back. Recommendations on systems that you created for raising capital. Any vendors that you recommend or sales funnels?
Sorry, I saw another one from Shaheen. What did you say? That question again?
Yeah, it's like, do you have any recommendations for systems when it comes to raising capital?
So I like to use a tool that allows me to email people. So I use Syndication Pro for my capital raises. That allows me to, get the PPMs out, to send out emails to everybody, to all the investors, let people know that a new deal is on the table, and then give them access to a portal that has all the information in it. So to me, that's a baseline if you have a deal. And then other than that, some type of email marketing tool like MailChimp, or, any type of email marketing tool that you can send out emails to people to regularly communicate to them. As far as funnels, really, to me, it's just I use my Syndication Pro link. I bought a URL. It's investwithryanbutler.com. So anytime I meet somebody that questions, I say, hey, look, go to investwithryanbutler.com, fill out the form, and then I'll let you know. We'll meet and chat and talk about your investment goals. It's that simple for me. I just bought the URL and then pointed it to Syndication Pro.
Nice. I love the simplicity. So that's one. Shaheen, I'm in Northern Virginia trying to buy in Baltimore, DC, analyzing a lot of deals and making offers mainly to the commercial realties. Most of the offers we are making supposedly are losing to higher offers, right? My offers have been less than $1 million so far. Maybe I'm gun shy, not often correct. What would you suggest for me to up my game?
I would suggest building relationships with those brokers so that they know who you are. Like the last deal, I just got a deal. I got some deals in Baltimore, and those deals were brought to me because we'd already closed deals with those brokers. And they came to me and said, hey, look, this guy, for example, wants to sell his property, and he didn't need to sell, but he was in a situation like most investors are. The situation was his loan was about to reset, right? His long term was up, and he's going to have to refinance the property or sell it. Those are your only two options, right? And he looked up and said, this apartment is small. He owned like a bunch of units, like 700, like himself, straight up. And he's like, this doesn't fit my investment thesis anymore. This is not the type of property that I want to manage anymore. So he could either keep it, which was no big deal because he's been doing a good job, or he could just sell it off and just take his money and returns and move on with his life so he can focus, so he can stay in alignment with what his goals are. And with that, he wanted someone that could close on the deal. That was his number one thing. He's like, I'll give up a few ducats, a little bit of money to make sure that this deal closes, particularly in this environment right now. So that's a scenario of like us building a relationship. We didn't even have the highest offer. We didn't have the highest offers. So, but I will say that when you're dealing with deals that are kind of like below $1 million, that's a different type of deal. That's a different type of deal. Yeah, it's just a different type because you're dealing with the people who are buying these deals are not the same people that are buying, say, the 2 or 3 million, $2-3 million plus deals. So they might just have cash and be willing to overpay for something. Whereas the bigger the purchase price, typically the more sophisticated the investor starts to become. And there's levels to sophistication, but at each level, there's, if you're buying something that's over $1 million loan, you have a different type of investor than you do with people who are buying. But honestly, people could have just been overpaying for those properties too for a while, because we were underwriting a lot of deals and weren't getting none. And then now we got some, right? Like I underwrote a lot of deals between the time I bought the one last year and the one I'm working on now. So
Yeah, I think, a couple of gems that you really gave up right there. One was just like when people are marketing a property, they're really about who can close. It's not necessarily who's going to write the highest offer, but they need to be able to believe that you're going to be able to close. And they may trim the price by 100, 200. I mean, depending on the larger the deal, it may even be $1 million or so just to sell with somebody who they know will actually close the transaction versus tying a deal up and 6 months down the line or whatever, they don't close. So that's one thing there. On the other question, I would also say too, if you find yourself underwriting a lot of deals and you're just not close, there are some deals that don't make sense, right? Ryan's gone through several deals and like, hey, it just doesn't make sense. But if you're consistently off on everything, at some point you may have to do your homework. Like I remember a deal that we worked on and we probably sat there, there was COVID reserves that came into play. Lender wants us to put money to the side. What are we going to do with that? And it's just like there's a level of in-depthness that you have to go into in order to look at some of these deals to see if it does make sense for you to buy it or not. And I think a lot of people are just doing that first glance into a spreadsheet and saying, oh, it doesn't work. Right. And they're not digging into taxes, not digging into what the real rents could be, not digging into expenses. So make sure that you do your homework on the front end.
For sure. And also your expectations might be off, to be honest, on what's a good deal. That's another. I mean, that sounds simple, but if you're looking for a 1% deal in DC, good luck. Right. It doesn't exist. They just don't exist. That's not how people make money there. They don't make money through the 1% rule. So if you're trying to implement certain methodologies and rules of thumbs, that it's going to vary by area. You would not make money like that in San Francisco or New York. That's just not how those markets operate or make money. So you got to know, how do you make money in the area that you're looking in?
Yep. Cool. Well, hey man, I want to wrap it up, respect your time here today, but man, for people who want to reach out to you to know more about you, to want to hear about, some of the deals that you're doing, maybe in Baltimore, how can they reach out to you to form that relationship?
Yeah, I would say the easiest way, as far as specifically for deals, www.investwithryanbutler.com. If you want to connect with me on social media, you can connect with me at Ryan Butler Hoya. And on Instagram, that's Hoya, like Hoya, like Georgetown Hoya. And so those are probably the two best ways. If you want to, my email as well, Ryan@coalitionpg.com. I'll put it in the chat so you can have these different ways of contacting me.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll put it over. I'll make sure this makes its way over to our Facebook Live as well too. So, cool. Good deal. Well, hey Ryan, man, I really appreciate your time today, man. Appreciate you coming in. Salute to you, bro, man. I love seeing the growth, love seeing what you're doing. And I think that you dropped a lot of gems so that the people could take from us from this conversation we had here today, man. So appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks so much, and glad to be in business with you, brother.
Absolutely, man. All right. Y'all have a good one. Until next time, we'll chat later.